Good afternoon, everybody. We are thrilled to have you with us today. I'm very excited that our first webinar of the year has generated over 100 registrations, which could cause a problem for anybody trying to register late. We've only got 100 seats. But delighted to see that this topic was of interest to so many of you out there, and how these changes that Mark and Jim are going to discuss, how that could impact those clients that are getting close to retirement and concerned about how to do their Social Security and claiming benefits. This topic ties in directly with our Income Plus module and the planning tools that we have here at Great Plains for you, our proprietary Great Plains Income Plus income rider comparison worksheet that can compare 20 plus companies in one fell swoop. Any of our annuity marketing specialists can work with you in just a matter of a few minutes, have a PDF emailed to you with the best product solutions based on the case development information you're giving them on your particular sale at that point and what your clients are trying to do. So based on the interest of this topic and so many of you joining us today, we are recording the presentation, and we'll post a link tomorrow that you can access if you want to go back to review or want to check out today's presentation again. I also remind everybody that on calls like this and our webinars, we don't open the phone lines up. It creates a lot of chaos. But if you will use the question dialog box, just type in your question. When that comes to us, Brad and I will help feed that to Mark and Jim, and we'll try to get those questions answered today. If we happen to miss any of those, I promise you we will follow up with you and get you the answer you were looking for. Today's presenters, let me get right to it. You know we try to keep these presentations to close to 30 minutes as we can. Mark and Jim have a tremendous amount of information on this, so we could go over a little bit today. And I hope certainly you'll stay on with the importance of the topic and what they're going to share with us. Today's presenters are Mark Kiner, CPA, and Jim Blair, Social Security Specialist with Premier Social Security Consultants. These guys created that entity, and I think they've been out there now 3-4 years. Besides their expertise on the Social Security topic, Mark and Jim also educate agents and offer the National Social Security Advisor designation. And a number of you out there and a number of agents working with our shop, Great Plains Annuity and Life Marketing, have attained that designation over the past 2 years. So listen, with the 30-minute limit out there, let's get this thing started. Mark and Jim, thanks so much for being with us today. Please take it over.
Thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the changes to Social Security. But before I do, I just want you to say, to know, Rob, your mention of chaos about 45 seconds ago made me think about the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV series. Because one of the entities in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV series was chaos. So anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there. Maybe that's aging me.
Was that Man from U.N.C.L.E. or was that Get Smart?
Oh, it could have been Get Smart.
I think it might have been Get Smart.
Right? You got me. Anyway, I'm Mark Kiner. I'm a 35-year CPA, and my partner is Jim Blair.
You missed it by that much, and those who know Get Smart will know that.
My partner here is Jim Blair. Jim's a 35-year veteran of the Social Security Administration. Jim, talk briefly about what you do for Social Security.
Well, I worked there for 35 years, did a number of jobs, was service rep, the person you see when you walk in the front door, took claims for about 10 years for retirement survivors, disability and health insurance. Spent the last 20 years as in management, and 9 of those years as the district manager of the Piqua, Ohio office.
So Jim and I have been together since 2010. We set up Premier Social Security Consulting, and at that point our focus was to help individuals to make a wise decision and to make a plan. And then in 2013, like Rob indicated, we began the National Social Security Advisors class. So Jim, let me ask you a question. You were a 35-year veteran of Social Security, right?
That's correct.
When was the last time a major change happened to the Social Security program?
The last major change was in 1983.
1983. And I know you've been with the system since when it was signed back in 1935.
From the very
From
beginning,
the very
or
beginning.
maybe 1975.
So you really haven't seen a whole bunch of changes over time. Usually the changes are pretty small. Some COLA adjustments here and there. Maybe taking away the do-over, and they did that back in they took away a lot of the benefits of the do-over back in December 2010. But here in November of 2015, we saw some major changes.
That was one of the biggest change we've seen in quite a while. The change was to two of the filing options that kind of came into being, or at least came into prominence about 2000 with another change that was made, and they made some changes to the annual earnings test, and it kind of gave birth to this these two strategies that people have been using. And so they decided they wanted to, they call them loopholes, but they wanted to close those. And the strategies that we're talking about are claim and suspend and restricted application. Now, before the change and what we had talked about before, claim and suspend, also known as file and suspend. You file an application for Social Security benefits, you tell them not to pay you. There's no advantage to an individual necessarily in doing that. If you delay taking your benefits beyond full retirement age, you're going to earn a delayed retirement credit, 2/3 of 1% for each month you wait, or that equals 8% a year. So if you delay from 66 to 70, you're looking at a 32% increase. But you get that increase whether you do nothing or if you claim and suspend. What claim and suspend will allow is a spouse or a child who's eligible on your work record to file for their benefits and receive those benefits. And this was a pretty good advantage for folks. So while someone could wait to take their benefit and earn delayed retirement credits, their spouse or any eligible children could file for and receive those benefits as well. The other is known as the restricted application. And basically what this refers to is Social Security allowed someone at their full retirement age to restrict the type of benefit they were applying for. If you're under full retirement age, there's something called deemed filing, which says that if you file for benefits, you're filing for any benefit that you're eligible for. And that goes away at full retirement age. That means at full retirement age, you could tell Social Security, I'm filing for benefits on my spouse's work record. I want to leave my own alone. They'll grow that 8% a year, but in the meantime, I'll draw benefits from my spouse. And they're putting an end to that as well. But those are the two options that are available to people. They're still going to be available in limited supply, at least for a while. Claim and suspend, we're going to see still usable for people who are full retirement age and do the claim and suspend before the end of April of 2016. Restricted application, we're going to see for quite a while. People that became 62 by the end of 2015 are still able to use the restricted application strategy, but they can't use it until full retirement age. So, that means someone who just turned 62 in December, 4 years from now, could be filing the restricted application. So we're still going to see it in use for quite a while.
So let's go over a couple of examples. Let's do the claim and suspend first. Let's say I'm age 66, and my benefit at age 66 is $2,000 a month. I want to wait to age 70 because I want the delayed retirement credits of 32%. But my wife did not work, doesn't have her own earnings, and so she's only eligible for benefit off of me. For her to receive a spousal benefit off my work record, I either need to be receiving my benefit, or if I'm age 66 by the end of April, I can then file and suspend. So let's assume I fit that parameter that I am age 66 by the end of April. I would file an application for benefits and tell Social Security not to pay me. That allows my wife and or a child, if I have a child under the age of 18 or 19, to collect off me while I'm in suspension mode, earning those delayed retirement credits. And then the restricted application. Like Jim said, that allows me to collect off my wife. So here I'm age 66. I can get $2,000 off my work record. My wife worked and has her own earnings, and as a spouse, I can get $1,000 off of my wife's work record. So I could file a restricted application to claim only a spousal benefit. So I collect $1,000 a month for 48 months. And then when I'm age 70, I turn my own benefit on, and now my benefit has grown from $2,000 up to $2,640. Now, these are only available to you when you reach your full retirement age. For folks born between 1943 and 1954, the full retirement age is 66. And these options alone and together represent the coordination of spousal benefits, which represents the second leg in our three-legged stool. So since 2010, Jim has met with about 1,200 clients, and many of them are married couples. Included in the top 3 to 5 options for married couple are these strategies on this three-legged stool. So this three-legged stool shows a married couple how they can maximize their benefits. Leg number 1 is one spouse waiting to age 70. That's generally going to be the husband. He's going to wait to age 70 to receive those delayed retirement credits of 32%. Leg number 1 leads us right into leg number 3. Leg number 3 is maximizing surviving spouse benefits. The husband takes benefits at age 70. He'll be leaving more money for the rest of his life and the rest of a surviving spouse life because he waits to age 70 and he received the maximum delayed retirement credits. So leg number 1, he waits to age 70. Leg number 3, we're maximizing surviving spouse benefits. But the most overlooked leg is leg number 2, the coordination of spousal benefits by using a combination of the claim suspend and the restricted application. Now, Jim, how many folks understand they can wait to age 70 to get more money on a percentage basis?
Most people do because it's on their statement. So we're going to say probably 75 to 80%.
How many folks understand how to maximize surviving spouse benefits, or even why to?
Yeah, that's even less. If we're lucky, 40%.
So how many folks understand how to coordinate spousal benefits?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody. But
it's maybe, almost a negative.
That's right. Maybe 10%. It's a very low number. Of course, it's a little more than it used to be because there's been a lot of press about it. But still,
definitely,
it's still a very low number,
yeah.
Around 10%, I would say, based on the people I've talked to.
So leg number 2, the coordination of spousal benefits is using the claim and suspend and or the restricted application strategies. Those are the strategies that are being phased out due to the Bipartisan Budget Act, which was signed by President Obama November 2nd of 2015. Included in this act is Section 831. And Jim, what's the title of Section 831?
Well, Section 831 is the closure of unintended loopholes.
So that tells you something about what Congress was thinking when it comes to these 2 strategies, right?
Right.
So Section 831 of the Bipartisan Budget Act is making changes and phasing out the use of the file and suspend and also the restricted application. Jim, why don't you talk about how the Act is changing the restricted application?
Well, when we talked before with the restricted application, how at full retirement age you were not subject to this deemed filing. And remember, deemed filing says that when you file an application for benefits, you are filing for all benefits that you're due in that first month of eligibility. So someone filed and they were eligible January of 2016, and they're eligible for benefits on their own work record. They could also draw benefits as a spouse. Then Social Security would require them, first of all, to take their own benefit and then take any additional benefit as a spouse they might be eligible for. Currently, the deemed filing ends at full retirement age, meaning that at 66, someone could say to Social Security, I want to limit the scope of this application and just file for spousal benefits. I don't want to take my own benefit at this point in time. And the new change in the law really just extended deemed filing. Instead of ending at full retirement age, it now ends at age 70. That forces people, even if you file at 66, 67, 68, whenever, somewhere between full retirement age and 70, you're still subject to deemed filing. You cannot restrict it to just spousal benefits.
So those folks that can still use the restricted application are people that attain age 62 attained age 62 by the end of 2015, which basically means if you turn 62 by January 1st of 2016, you're good to go. Am I right, Jim?
That's correct.
Explain that. Why is it that somebody was born on January 1st of 2016 would fall under this effect, these rules?
Well, the change says that people who attain the age of 62 by the end of 2015 would remain under the old law, and you attain the age of your birthday the day before your birthday. According to Social Security rules and regulations, if someone turns 62 on January 1st, 2016, they attained age 62 December 31st, 2015, so they're still, they still meet the requirements for the restricted application under the old law. Somebody born January 2nd attained age 62 January 1st, 2016, they're going to fall under the new law.
Jim, I received a phone call the other day from one of our advisors. She asked, she has a client that had turned age 62 by the end of 2015, and wanted to do the restricted application later when she turned 66 4 years from now. What does she need to do today to preserve the opportunity to file a restricted application in 4 years?
What she needs to do today is nothing. You don't have to tell Social Security that you're going to do that. You just don't want to apply for any benefits on your own work record. So you're not going to apply, you're not going to take any type of Social Security benefit, you're not going to contact Social Security at all.
So there's nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
And so you turn age 66 in 4 years, you just file the restricted application in 4 years. Or if you want to file the restricted application when you're 69, you just wait, God, I can't do that math, 7 years, and you can file the restricted application. So there's nothing for you to do now to tell Social Security, that's what I'm going to do down the road.
Right, and this is separate from Medicare. Because full retirement age is 66, Medicare eligibility is still 65, you can file an application for Medicare at 65, and you just limit that application to Medicare only. That still protects your eligibility for the restricted application at age 66 or full retirement age.
So the law also changes the benefits if you under the file and suspend strategy, because now spousal and children benefits are not payable unless the wage earner is receiving benefits. So as a result, the wife is not able to receive a spousal benefit if the husband files and suspends. The husband needs to turn his benefits on. So let's say I'm age 66. Under the old law, I could file and suspend, allowing my wife to claim a spousal benefit off me. Under the new law, I have to turn my benefits on for a spousal benefit to be paid. Now, if I'm turning age 66, if I'm attaining age 66 by April 30th of 2016, then I can go ahead and file and suspend by that date. So in theory, I say attaining age 66 by April 30th, but that means as long as I turn age 66 by May 1st of 2016, then I can file and suspend by the end of April of 2016. So there is an opportunity to be reaching out to your clients now, anywhere between now and the end of April, if they're turning full retirement age by May 1st of 2016. They would have the opportunity to file and suspend on April 30th. So if you have clients in that situation, just go through your client base. You might want to start to contact them. Also, file and suspend, another file and suspend benefit is being terminated. It's the building up of a cash reserve. So if you file and suspend, and down the road you need some cash for long-term care or a car or whatever. Social Security will send you a check for all the benefits not paid to you. So if I file and suspend at age 66, under the old law at age 68, and let's assume my benefit is $2,000 a month. Under the old law, I could call Social Security up and they'll send me a check for $48,000, a lump sum check. And thus, that's why the building up of a cash reserve would be beneficial. But now that cash reserve opportunity is eliminated. And so even if I suspend my benefits at age 66, I am not building up a cash reserve unless I turned age 66 by April 30th of 2016. Bear with me, gang. Jim, let's just go over the effective dates again. You want to do a restricted application?
Yeah, the effective dates for a restricted application, anyone who attains age 62 by the end of 2015, remember that's born January 1st of 1954 or sooner, then they're still eligible for the restricted application, meaning that in 4 years they could be filing that application. Actually, it's up to 7 years and 11 months. They can file a restricted application as late as 69 and 11 months. Of course, the earlier they file it, the sooner they'll get the money. But maybe someone who is going to be 66 and needs to file a restricted off of their spouse, maybe their spouse hasn't applied yet. So it could even be later than 4 years from now.
And the effective date for file and suspend is if you're going to turn your full retirement age by May 1st of 2016, that gives you the opportunity to file and suspend by April 30th of 2016 to reserve those two Social Security benefits. One, the buildup of the cash reserve, and two, to allow a payment of spousal or children's benefits while you have suspended your benefits. So if you're turning full retirement age by May 1st of 2016, please give some strong consideration to filing and suspending by April 30th of 2016. Jim, let's fast forward right now to some remaining strategies that are still available to folks, even while these options are being phased out and after they're phased out. Of course, you know, some folks, Jim, believe that the delayed retirement credits are being phased out. But that's not the case, correct? If I wait to age 70 in my full retirement age to 66, I still get 32% more, right?
Right. The delayed retirement credits were not affected at all by this recent legislation. If you delay taking your benefit, you still earn those delayed retirement credits for each month that you delay, and all the rules and the crazy application of the delayed retirement credits still remains the same.
And so another strategy, Jim, is of course to maximize the surviving spouse benefits. So if the husband waits to age 70 and he gets 32% more, then upon his death, his wife will get more money for the rest of her life.
Right, and that's going to stay the same as well.
Here's a strategy that may be pretty common. The top bullet point here: the high income earner begins his or her benefits prior to age 70 to allow the payment of a spousal benefit. So let's assume I'm age 66. My benefit is $2,000 a month. I could begin my benefit at age 66, which would then allow my wife to collect a spousal benefit off my work record. Of course, Jim, if I do that, I forego the delayed retirement credits, so she gets less money for the rest of her life as a surviving spouse upon my death. Or, Jim, I could wait to age 70, and now my benefit has grown 32%, and so now I receive more money for the rest of my life, and as a widow, my wife would get more money for the rest of her life also. So does the main higher wage earner collect at 70 to get the delayed retirement credits? Does the higher wage earner collect at 56 to allow a spousal benefit to be paid earlier, but foregoing those delayed retirement credits? And of course, Jim, both spouses can still wait to age 70, right?
Absolutely, and that the changes don't affect the delayed retirement credits as we mentioned. So if both spouses wait till 70, they both maximize their benefit and what they're going to receive each month. It's still a better option than at least when you look at the amount of money received over one's lifetime. than both members of a couple taking their benefit at age 62. So those types of options are still available, and probably what we're going to see for people who cannot file and suspend and cannot file the restricted application is going to be a combination of filing at 62, full retirement age in 70 for one member of the couple, and the same combination for the other, but they're going to mix them up together. They're still going to have about 9 options or so on average still available to them.
And Jim, the final bullet point on this slide is maybe the wife begins her benefit or spousal benefit at 62 or 66. The husband waits until age 70. Of course, though, if the husband waits to age 70, the wife can't collect a spousal. That's true. So let's just say the wife collects her own benefit at 62 or 66. The husband waits to age 70, maximizes his DRCs. Down the road, she'll collect as a surviving spouse. So it doesn't make as much sense anymore, Jim, for a wife to wait to age 66 or 70 because she's just going to end up collecting his benefit anyways as a widow. So if she waits to age 70, sure, her benefit has now gone up 32%. But what if he dies within the next few years? Then she would not have collected her benefit for all that long because she's going to be stepping into his shoes as the surviving spouse. So one strategy that folks need to look at is maybe the wife collects her benefit at age 62, and then the husband waits to age 70 because down the road upon his death, she'll just step into his shoes and collect a widow benefit. Hey, Jim, are surviving spouses impacted by the new law?
No, they still have the same options they always had. Deemed filing does not and never has applied to the surviving spouse. So they can take the survivor benefit at 60 and wait and take their own at 62 or full retirement age, or even wait until age 70, or they can take their own at 62 and take the survivor benefit at their full retirement age. Just depends on which way to go on the numbers, which one is a higher benefit, which one is the lower, and what can you live on while you're waiting to maximize it.
How about divorced spouses, Jim? Are they impacted?
Yes and no. They're impacted under regular divorce spousal benefits. If they've been divorced for less than 2 years, you cannot file for benefits off of your ex's record unless they've either filed an application. That means currently they've claimed and suspended, or they're taking benefits. And then you can apply and file off of their work record. If they haven't applied, you can't file for and receive those benefits. Well, with the change in the claim and suspend, it's going to be if you've been divorced less than 2 years, you cannot draw anything from your ex-spouse until they apply for benefits. When the no part of this, where it's not going to affect it, is when they've been divorced for 2 years or more, and that's an independently entitled divorced spouse. And in that case, they can file for benefits regardless of what the ex has done. All the ex has to do is have reached age 62 or older.
So the key, Jim, is have they been divorced for 2 years or less, or have they been divorced for more than 2 years? If more than 2 years, then there's really not going to be any changes because the spouse would be what you consider an independently entitled divorced spouse.
Right, and what that means is they are eligible for benefits from their ex-spouse's record, independent of the fact that they have not applied for benefits. The ex never applied on their own work record.
Jim, with a minute to go, let's review our three-legged stool again. So for a married couple to maximize their benefits, one spouse will wait to age 70 to get those delayed retirement credits. And generally, it's going to be the husband. That leads us right into leg number 3, whereby we're maximizing the surviving spouse benefits. And then, Jim, the coordination of spousal benefits. Leg number still exists. It's not as strong as it used to be because the restricted application and claim and suspend strategies are being phased out. And that's where a lot of the additional monies were. But even after, but still, we have pockets of folks, Jim, like you said, that can still use those options. If you're turning 62 by the end of, if you turn 62 by the end of 2015, you could do a restricted application filing at your full retirement age. If you're turning full retirement age by April 30th of 2016, you could file and suspend. But even after those options are phased out, Jim, there's still ways to coordinate spousal benefits. Do you have the husband taking at 66 to allow spousal benefit to be paid? Does he wait to age 70, thereby losing 4 years with the spousal benefits, but getting 32% more in those delayed retirement credits? So even though the big guys are being phased out, there are still ways to maximize benefits by coordinating spousal benefits. Jim, what would you add as closing comments to today's webinar?
Yeah, we have to look at the options people still have. If you have a couple and they're not eligible for either one of them for claim and suspend and restricted application, it's still important, maybe even more important, that they look at their options and figure out the best way for them to coordinate those benefits and file when they can. Just because somebody's going to be 66 by May 1st doesn't mean they need to run out and file the claim and suspend. They certainly want to look at it, but maybe a year and a half from now, their spouse is going to reach 62, and their spouse is saying, look, I don't care what you do, I'm taking my benefit at 62. Maybe then the older spouse would still delay and wait and take the restricted application. So nothing's really set in stone on what people need to do. What's set in stone is that they need to have it looked at.
Rob, this ends our webinar. Thank you so much for having us on today. I'll turn it over to you.
It does not end, Mark, because we've got some very interesting questions here, and just as I suspected with the great turnout today, while we have you two geniuses here on this topic, I want to try to call some answers from you. Christopher, and I'm going to take them in the order they came in. Christopher asks, can people receive full Social Security income while continuing to work after age 70 and still receive 100% of their benefits, or will their Social Security income become taxed?
Well, the Social Security income can always be taxed. It's based on the total income you have, even if you take your benefit at 62 or if you're 100. If your income as an individual is over 25,000 or a married couple over 32,000, then your Social Security benefit is subject to federal income tax. And depending on the state you're in, it could be subject to state tax. There's only about 12 states, I think, that tax it, 12 or 13, I don't remember the exact amount, but there are some that do.
Okay.
But Jim, the other part of that question was the annual earnings test, I believe. Is that right, Rob? If you receive benefits, if you're over age 70, does the annual earnings test apply? At least I got that out of the question, and the annual earnings test will go away at age 66 or your full retirement age.
Right, and they are, a lot of people mix them up.
They always do.
They're two separate issues.
Always do. GK, Rob, next question, please.
All right. If a spouse who filed 9 years ago at age 62 has a spouse who filed restricted app at full retirement age 3.5 years ago and collects spousal benefits, boy, this is like an algebra problem. If a spouse who filed 9 years ago at age 62 has a spouse who filed restricted app at FRA 3.5 years ago and collects spousal benefits, he will be filing for own benefit at age 70 late this year. Will she be able to collect 1/2 of his, or is she stuck with her own since she started at 62?
Well, she is stuck with her own. There may be an additional spousal benefit that she's eligible for. Let me give you just a quick example. The higher earner has a full retirement age benefit of say $2,600, and his spouse had a benefit of $1,000, but she took it at 62, so instead of getting $1,000, she's getting $750. Well, when he finally applies for benefits and takes those benefits, then we take his $2,600, not the $3,500 that he's going to be eligible for. Don't check my math on that one, but not with the delayed retirement credits, but his 66 amount, $2,600, $1,300. She's eligible for we take the 1,300 minus her 1,000. She's eligible for an additional 300 as a spouse. So she'll get her 750 plus the 300 for a total of 1,050. Whereas had she waited till 66, she would have received 1,000 on her own, 350 from her spouse, and she would be getting 1,350. So she still is penalized because she took her own at 62.
Okay. Next question. Wife is age 52 and on Social Security disability. Husband will be 66 in 2 years. May the husband collect on her and suspend his?
Yes, it doesn't matter that what she's receiving is disability. He was 62 before 2016, so he has the restricted application available. So he can file a restricted application at full retirement age and build his own up till age 70.
And that applies, Jim, even though that with the age difference here that the wife on Social Security disability is only age 52?
Yes, that still applies. And the only thing that would put a fly in that ointment is if she lost her disability, then he would lose his spousal benefit.
Okay. Last question, I think, but then 3 or 4 questions that because of interest with what you guys do. Can a 62-year-old spouse collect spousal benefits when a 65-year-old starts to collect their Social Security?
Yes, they can, if they're eligible. Of course, what would happen because of deeming, they have to take their own first. And then if there's an additional spousal benefit that's payable, then they'll be able to receive that additional amount. Of course, both are reduced for age.
Okay. And then the last one that I want to address, Jeff's asking what we mentioned, Mark, in the material you gave me to promote the webinar. Your promotion mentioned Social Security disability. Any news? I don't know if that opens up another 30-minute webinar or...
Well, really no changes in Social Security disability. It's still available to anyone basically age 18 up until they reach full retirement age. There is no disability after full retirement age. It's just regular retirement.
But yeah, Rob, I think my reference to disability is just that the Social Security Disability Trust Fund is now more solvent. I'm sure that's what I was intending to say.
Yeah, because that's in this PowerPoint.
Yes. Do you want to explain that, Jim?
Yeah, the Disability Trust Fund was expected to be depleted by the end of 2016. What they're doing is taking some of the money that they collect in FICA taxes. Some of it went to the Retirement Trust Fund, some went to Disability Trust Fund, some Medicare. Well, they're going to take 0.5% of the income from the Retirement Trust Fund and put it in the Disability Trust Fund for the next 2 years, and they believe that that makes the Disability Trust Fund solvent for the next 6 years.
Okay. And gentlemen, we've got 4 or 5 questions here where the agents attending today, they either have a personal situation, they're asking for a copy of the PowerPoint, they're asking for how do they contact you. Would you guys address that as far as what the best way to get a hold of you? And the only commercial I want to give for both of you and for Premier Social Security Consulting. Over the past 2 years, a number of Great Plains agents, we've hosted a couple of situations where Mark and Jim came into town, put on the NSSA training for interested agents, or our agents found Mark and Jim. They have a number of locations around the country where they're presenting all year long. We have worked out an arrangement with them to help get you in front of them. A little discount is involved in that, but I want to tell you how many times agents have contacted me or the annuity specialist that they're working here with and raving about the great assistance and help that Mark and Jim had provided with being available to answer questions, or whether that was an email question or a phone follow-up. These guys, I want to let our audience know how tremendous you guys are. at really caring about the agent and caring about clients and consumers maximizing their benefits and taking full advantage of the Social Security benefits they've paid into for years. Mark and Jim, what's the best way for our listeners today to get with you?
A couple ways. And Rob, thanks so much for the kind words. We do appreciate it. My email address is mkiner, K-I-N-E-R, at mypremierplan.com. My office number is 513-247-0526. 513-247-0526. And just let me quickly give you my cell phone number, 513-218-8505. 513-218-8505. Rob, I thought it was needed to give you my cell phone number because tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, Jim and I are on our way to Naples, and they can't call us in the office. Rob, I'd like to send you the PowerPoint. Do you want to go ahead and send it out to the folks on the call today?
If that's okay, if that is okay with you guys, I am happy to. We'll have a copy of the questions that were asked today, and I will be happy to forward that on to any interested agents. And I'll mention that we have it available for everybody's benefit. We will have a follow-up email, hopefully by tomorrow, that will have a link to the recorded version of today's webinar. It's going to have an article from Mark and Jim that they were kind enough to give me this morning, and some additional contact information on both Premier Social Security Consulting and the NSSA designation. And the great thing is, since I turned 62 earlier this year, and my wife did as well, I'm going to be contacting Mark and Jim to run a full-blown analysis of what my claiming strategy should be and how I should proceed based on the information presented today. I thought we'd missed it. It was too late, and I have a feeling there's some benefits there. So again, everybody, these guys have been an absolute delight to work with. Between Mark being a CPA for over 35 years and Jim's more than 35 years experience in the trenches at Social Security and dealing with this, they have been a wonderful resource, again, because Great Plains has a high focus on income planning with our Income Plus planning tools and what we do every day in helping agents maximize covering the income gap between Social Security benefits and what's needed to cover everyday expenses and to take care of our clients. They are an invaluable part of what we do here. And I just, again, thank you both for being so great to our agents and being so responsive and helping with education to an nth degree between the National Social Security Advisor designation and then what you do when our agents call you with individual and particular questions.
Our pleasure, Rob.
We've got the contact information here. If you need anything else, please reach out to all the other questions I'm seeing here. If I've missed one, I apologize, but everybody seems to be asking about getting a copy of the PowerPoint or more information. I promise you we'll forward that and a link to how to get to it in the email we get you as soon as possible. And then anybody, your annuity marketing consultant here can help you get a hold of Mark and Jim if you missed Mark's information there. We've got it. I hope we've got it out at our website too, that you can get a hold of that. And I'm working with Mark to update the information on our Social Security tab on the website. We'll be working closely with Premier going forward, and you can always get a hold of them by contacting us. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We normally don't run 45 minutes, but again, I really appreciate you being with us today, and I appreciate the attention of the audience and how many of you have stayed with us. That bespeaks of how important this topic is. I really resent, Mark, that you had to share with us that you're going to Naples. I think it's about 22 degrees here in Kansas City, and
we're there
with my mucklucks and my parka on while you guys are down there getting a suntan.
Well, I just want to make sure, Rob, your advisors knew that we wouldn't be in the office tomorrow if they wanted to call us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Please call if you have any additional questions. And Mark and Jim, I will get with you to put you back on the calendar for next quarter. I think we need to stay out in front of everybody with how timely this information is.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Everybody have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.